We work in a world where culture is incredibly important, where culture is fast-changing, but Western culture wasn't something that I was born into. I was born in Korea, raised in Hong Kong. I went to high school in Sacramento, California, which unfortunately wasn't a very good high school, but I luckily ended up in Chicago and ended up getting a degree in journalism. And journalism was my passion. I thought I would do this for the rest of my life. And when I graduated, I actually didn't end up practicing journalism. But what was interesting about me getting a journalism degree was that 25% of my time was spent actually practicing and learning journalism. The other 75% of the time was actually spent learning about the world. And it was this learning about the world that made me really, really curious about what else is out there. What else can I do? What else can I learn about that could actually expand my horizons? And this 75% of stuff that didn't seem relevant to what I was doing became the most important thing in my life. What does the world really, really look like? What do people in the world really, really think about? How does the world actually work? After 18 months after starting my company, I was 40 grand in debt and with no job. So I had a choice. Either go back to school and get another degree, or I could learn from other people who've done this. I could learn from other entrepreneurs who were going to serve as my mentors. So the very first job I took after being the CEO of my own company was to work for a friend of mine who had been a successful entrepreneur. He didn't have enough money to pay me, so I got paid $8.50 an hour. But I wanted it. I wanted that job because I wanted to learn from this guy. And I did it over and over again. I did it for about 6 years in different jobs. And when 2007 came along, I thought, you know, this is the perfect time. The economy's going so well that I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to create a new company. And I bought I.Can.S. Cheeseburger. That didn't turn out to be the best economic judgment. But now we have 20 million users who come and visit our sites every single month. The 4th most watched channel on all of YouTube. Along the way, we got there because we knew how to fail, right? And I know you guys, there was somebody who here asked the question about failure. We look at failure and we try to make sure it's as small as possible. How do we take this audacious idea we have, break it down into the smallest components and make sure that we don't fail in a huge way, but we fail quickly and we fail in a small way so we learn and we move on. It's really taught me that life is never what it's supposed to be. And it's really about trying out these new ideas, experimenting. And that's why we launch all these new websites every single month so that we can see if something sticks and if something doesn't. And this internet world of internet culture is a little bit different than the world and the media that we're used to. Google, Facebook, and Twitter, what do these 3 companies have in common? These 3 most influential companies for media in the world, none of them produce their own content. Think about that for a second. Media companies whose job is to publish content so that other people will consume it next to advertising. These 3 companies do not publish any of their own content. They actually create content based on what you, the users, create. That's been a huge shift in the way we understand media in the last 5 years. Google indexes all the other web pages other people have created. Twitter is what you had for breakfast, and Facebook is what your friends had for breakfast. So it used to be that we would have this line between the media and the consumers, the earth and the sun. It used to be that if you were on one thing, you could not be another. You had to be a writer for a magazine, or you had to be a reporter for television. But now you can go grab your iPhone and go take a picture or a video of something amazing happening, and you could be the journalist. Without a degree, without training, without any kind of platform for you to actually express your opinions, you can become more powerful in 1 minute than a career journalist who's been aspiring to that moment for their entire lives. And that's what's been amazing with the last 10 years of how media has changed, technology has changed media. Perspective, awards, success, fame, perhaps one day they'll be yours, but in fact, nothing you'll ever do will be more popular than this online picture of bacon taped to a cat. That's pretty humbling. And people look at this and go, what is wrong with America? What is wrong with the world that we spend time looking at photos of bacon taped to a cat? Giving power to the people who want to create their own media so they can create their own culture is far more powerful than letting a handful of people control what we read and what we consume. This is what I call the internet. Great big companies who provide enormous commercial value to what we do. We use these sites. We go look up information, we go buy tickets, we transact on these sites. The mission of my company, the Cheeseburger Network, is to make everyone in the world happy for 5 minutes a day. Now have about 45 to 50 different sites, many of them that reach millions and millions of people. These are sites we use to create culture. These are sites we use to experience something from one another, to actually participate, and to actually grow the idea that there's a common bond among people who've never met before. And this is how I describe when people say, I live in the intertubes. And these are the sites that they refer to. And this is the cultural experience they refer to when we say, I live in the internet. So last mind-blowing fact. The internet now contains almost about the same number of nodes as there are nodes in the human brain. The really amazing part is that at the end of every single one of those nodes is a human brain. Think about the amount of connections that's making right now. That's why the internet is changing everything we do. That's why the internet is changing culture. And that's why the internet is making this part of history the most amazing time to be alive. This cultural change is what's going to produce the rock stars of tomorrow. It's not going to be American Idol. When you are my age, and maybe older, you will notice that the people who are famous, the phenomena that is gripping the world, that everybody's talking about, is not going to be produced by professionals. It is more and more likely to be produced by people like you and me, who never thought that they would actually become that famous or that they would be that influential.